Okay, I have 9 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First up is committee members identifying themselves. I am Frank Engler. I am participating remotely from my home in Deerfield Township, Isabella County, Michigan.
Steve Swaney, attending remotely from my home in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, Isabella County.
I am Jim Horton. I am attending from my office in Big Rapids, Michigan, Mecosta County.
Okay, before we move on, is there a change to the agenda? Okay. Okay. We will do a call to the public. Nicole, is there anybody online waiting?
There is no one at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, we'll give a couple seconds or. I always feel we should have some music in here, some Jeopardy music or something to play, but it definitely, okay, I will call for one more time. Is there anybody on there, Nicole?
There is no one at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Frank, they
Okay.
just don't know what they're missing, do they?
I know, it's, yep, on a 9 o'clock on a Tuesday morning. Anyways, we will move on to item number 4, which is consider authorize the submission of the fiscal year 2022 adult treatment court grant application in the estimated amount of $126,672. And I think we got trial court administrator Curtis here to address that, or you're up.
Great, good morning. So we're back again to apply for adult treatment court funding for fiscal year 2022. This amount is a little bit more than what we asked for last year. We tried to add in some requests for additional drug testing because that seems to be the way things are going. We need more of that. Last year we received 66,500. More people applying, less money available. We're continually trying to improve our application to get that number up. If we don't, we'll still be able to operate. It'll just mean a little less services in other areas, but we continually try to ask for more. I can let Kate speak to anything else that, or answer any questions that you have regarding the program.
Just one question. I know we always ask for a little bit more. I think last year, what was it, like 1% down a little bit? Are you seeing anybody getting more money, or everybody, they kind of just keep reducing it to everybody?
We're not seeing anyone get any more money. We are just seeing the same pool of money or less money available and more applicants. We always receive like a scorecard, for lack of a better term. So we look at that and see, you know, what they think we need to be doing differently. I think Kate mentioned to me last week that they wanted us to offer more incentives. So we've been working on doing that. Of course, with COVID, you haven't had people in here necessarily to give them their incentives. And so it's been a little bit weird, but.
Okay.
So quick question. I've got a couple questions. One, with that amount of funding, can you actually service 27 people that you say you have capacity for?
So yeah, so I can speak to it a little bit. If we were to receive the full amount that we're asking for, absolutely, we could do some extra things. If we receive an amount similar to the amount we received the current fiscal year, then what that really covers is Kate's salary and fringes, most of them, but not all of them, of course. And then we become creative with asking for 2% money. The county has always kicked in a little bit to help us with this program. So we'll still be able to manage. It'll just be a little tighter budget, and that kind of thing.
Certainly, if we have more applicants for people in the program and we can't cover costs, I'd certainly, endorse, county funds to support this program. And I was also wondering, if they're looking for more incentives for people, can we, people for once a week on, drug testing? I know it's adult treatment, so that's important part of the program.
Go ahead, Kate.
And use that funds towards incentives.
We have, depending, as far as testing goes, right now, we're testing 2 to 3 times a week. Now that the court's opening back up, we might be able to do a little more in-house testing, which is going to save a lot of money. So we can use some of that money for incentives or other things. Some of our incentives are, we might do gift cards or something like that, a $10 gas card, just something to reward somebody for good behavior. We've also done a lot of free incentives, judicial praise, everyone giving them a round of applause, something like that. So not all the incentives are cash-based or money-based incentives.
Right.
I don't know if that answers your question.
All right. I know that, moral support and praise is good. I also know that the county has a lot of people in dire straits, don't have cards to use a gas card. But so, food, gift certificates, definitely concerned about, the people in the county, having, 3 meals a day and kids eating and things like that. And certainly anyone in this program might be at risk, in those areas. So I'm also very supportive in pushing money towards those type of incentives where we're supporting, basic, issues that the constituents are facing. And I know that you're doing a great job there, and I support this program. I'm just, speaking out that, my concerns and pushing them into any program or area I can see that we can, help support those basic needs for sure. And I'm sure our people in the adult treatment program are facing these problems as well.
Yes.
Thank you for your work there.
Thank you.
Just one quick.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh.
Sorry. I was
No, go ahead.
curious
Finish
in
up,
both.
Steve.
Yeah, I was curious in this and the juvenile program if this one's been going on since 2003. If we've done any reviews and updates of the program since then, because 20 years, I'm sure there's a lot of work been done on these programs, and I'm sure you've been reviewing it. But do we have any third-party reviews going on these type of things?
We review it. We've made changes throughout the years. We've recently changed how often people are reporting in person. We've changed. We now allow the defendant, if it's an OWI second or third, to obtain a restricted driver's license so that they can drive to work and to the court and to the court-related activities that they're required to do. So that's a big change that we've recently done that's been very helpful for a lot of our people, because transportation is obviously a really big issue, especially when we're asking people to go to counseling and go to AA and go to community service and they don't have a drive or a ride because they don't have a license. So that's helped a lot. We do an annual report to the state and they monitor our program and request changes as needed. So I guess that would be the third party. We don't have another third party that I'm aware of that reviews the program.
Thank you. That does sound like a great, with the driving, obviously that to get basic needs in the county, very important for many people. Thanks for entertaining all my questions this morning.
Absolutely.
Like to welcome Prosecutor Barbary, just joined us. This question may be more for him, but now the courts have been opened a little bit. Everybody's been locked up. Are we going to big influx for participants in this program as far as, there's been a lot of talk about people being cooped up for so long and that there is an increase in drug use. So have you seen that or do you expect that? Are you prepared for that?
We've certainly seen an influx of drug, in my opinion, and drug-related crime. And I think that that's due to a multitude of factors. Certainly the stress of the pandemic, the access to resources that people may not previously had with federal funding, unemployment bonuses, et cetera, and the given. I think that we're seeing, an access to money that people weren't normally accustomed to, and that's caused our drug crime to go up in a different way. In some senses, we're seeing larger quantities of drugs in our community than normal. With regard to participants in the programs that have been discussed, I think that those are going to be pretty constant and pretty consistent, I should say, what they have been at. Just based on, we've not really slowed down how we're handling those at all through the pandemic. We've been meeting every other week, charging along, still allowing people into the program, even in light of the pandemic. So I don't think we're going to see a major influx in our numbers, and our numbers are typically capped. So from that perspective, I don't think we'll see a huge influx of numbers. But it's kind of a loaded question. There's definitely been an increase in drug use and crime related to it as a result, in my opinion, of the pandemic.
Okay, is there any more discussion on item number 4?
I can make a motion then. Move to bring forward the submission of the fiscal year 2022 adult treatment court grant application in the estimated amount of $126,672 to the county commission meeting next Tuesday.
I will support that. It's been moved and supported that we move this forward. Is there any more discussion on this? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor signify by aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll move that forward. Moving on to item number 5, consider authorizing the submission of the fiscal year 2022 juvenile treatment court grant application in the estimated amount of $107,621.54. Who wants to take this one? I see we got Carrie and Reiser here. While you'd start off, Administrator Carrie.
All right, thank you. So again, this is our standard application for another year for juvenile treatment court. The application for last year was 101,000. We received 88,000. The big difference with this program versus the funding for the other programs is we can be supplemented through the child care fund with this program. So it's sort of like a dual thing. You can't double dip, but what we don't receive from the state for this program, we can typically pick up in the other one. So that is really helpful. So they tend to be more lenient with monies for juvenile offenders, which is good and bad. But so that's really all I have on that. I'll let Maria talk to you a little bit about a couple of changes that have been implemented, and we can answer any questions you have.
Mm-hmm. So one of the biggest changes in the past years, we have moved all of our drug testing off-site, which of course is, as Kate mentioned, more costly than doing on-site drug testing. But that has been going very well. And once we get back fully open and operational, we'll probably go back to doing some in-home drug testing, but continue with off-site testing for weekends and for holidays. And according to our contract with the state, we are required to drug test a minimum of twice a week. We do use increased drug testing as a sanction as needed. And so there are times that that will be more than twice a week, but it's mostly 2 times a week. So one of the reasons our request is a little bit higher than last year, in addition to offsite drug testing, is that we are, for the first time, requesting funds to cover a defense attorney's time to attend our status review hearings. That is something that we are hoping to use as an incentive. It's important to have a defense attorney at our status review hearings. Our defense attorney does attend as she is able, but there are times when she is required to be in court or, working on other cases. In addition to all the other changes that we have had to go through last year on the fly because of COVID, I took the time during 2020 to take a look at our program. Working with Judge Black, we are making some changes to the program. We are changing some of our admission procedures. Mr. Barbieri, you will hear more about that when we're ready. But we have, we're going through our operational manual and updating to include the changes that are occurring through COVID, but also, like I said, just making some basic structural changes. The Zoom formatting for the reviewer hearings, I think, has been beneficial in some ways because it allows families to attend when maybe transportation would be a hardship. On the other hand, it has been a struggle because I think for adolescents, if it's not right in their world, it's not real. And so it has been a struggle in terms of some behaviors and some, when we do have to issue sanctions, to get them to see that, no, this is real and you are going to be held accountable. This is real. So that has been kind of a challenge. Our request also, as you can see, it includes attending a conference, and all of our adolescents are pre-screened. And so we are requesting funding to cover the cost of that screening tool. Thank you.
Just a question on the defense attorney. Is that the same attorney, or how's that work if they have a public defender, or haven't they been assigned one at this time? Or
so we do have
go a little bit into that exactly.
I'm sorry, you kind of broke up there for a minute. Are you asking that I go into that a little bit?
Yeah, I was just wondering if it's the same attorney or what that is there, what does that get charged if there's a public defender on there? Yeah, just go into that a little bit since it's new.
So it would be the same public defender, but our contract right now covers her time in our in our team meetings. Every week that we have a status review hearing for drug court, we have a team meeting that occurs right ahead of time at 2:00, and then our drug court starts at 3:30. And so this is to help with the time actually spent at the status review hearings.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, yep.
Is there any questions?
I have, good. Chairman Harlan.
Steve, go ahead first. Go ahead.
Okay, I was wondering if you had also the, and I should ask this, I didn't see this until this weekend, so I should ask this on Monday if we could get it, the operational application like the adult treatment has, where it shows how many years, the capacity in the juvenile program and current active numbers, and it's just a nice brief summary of the operational program.
Okay, I apologize, but you really broke up there.
I'm sorry. My internet's really bad for some odd reason. It must be the heat. In the adult treatment documents that we received an operational application for the program that outlines the capacity of the program, a number of applicants currently involved, and a few other things. And I does a nice summary of, you know, I guess the numbers for where the money is going for the commissioners.
Yes, we can send that over.
That could be added. Right.
Yes,
Really, if it's just added for the Board of Commissioners meeting, I think it would be helpful for the commissioners.
sure. The reason that we didn't include it is because there's the way that we can print this right now until we submit the application
Mhm.
is limited, and it has some very personal information about the employees. So we didn't really want that to necessarily be a public document, but we
Right.
make sure we redact that personal stuff and get you the information
Mhm.
that you need, absolutely.
That, you know, even maybe a summary like that of the program's capabilities and
Sure.
current number, so that, yeah, obviously I don't need to see any personal information, just a nice summary.
Thank you. We sure will.
So going towards that, can you go into how many people juveniles are currently in the program, and what's the capacity?
Sure. Excuse me. So our capacity is 15 and we are currently at 8, so just over 50%. All juvenile petitions over the last year and a half have been down across the board.
Yeah.
And so our referrals have been down a little bit. Historically, we have gotten most of our referrals through probation violations that have come in the form of repeated positive drug tests. And for a while there, drug testing outside of drug court, well, even early last spring, even in drug court, but for a while, even in probation, drug testing pretty much came to a halt and slowly started up again over the course of last summer and fall. And so there has been a slowdown in our referrals, I think, due to that.
How many years have we had this program?
So this program became operational in 2006.
Okay.
Commissioner Horton, did you have a question?
I've been on the board for a while, and I think, which one of these programs was Isabella County, one of the first ones in the state to do? Was this the one? I can't remember which one it was.
Clifton Shore.
Clifton Shore, okay. That's coming up next, I think, so.
Yeah.
All right, sorry about that. I'm getting ahead of myself here. No, again, these programs serve a purpose. You know, it's just part of our court system and what we have to do to do that. One quick question in regards to the attorneys and stuff like that. Now, our public defender, that's excluded, but is that under the managed care contract? Is that how that works, or is that how that works? Not under our public defender itself?
The attorney that Maria is talking about is part of the requirements, and correct me if I'm wrong, Maria, for having a juvenile treatment court team is that we have a defense attorney as part of the team. That person is not necessarily representing the juvenile in any case, but they're required to be part of our team. Like, we have to have a judge, we have to have a coordinator, we have to have a therapist kind of person. So
Okay.
that is what this fee that she's adding into our application is to do. There's an authorization within the statute that the defense attorney can receive a stipend to participate on the team, and that's what this is for.
Okay, thank you.
And may I just add, and also review hearings, right? And Carrie's correct. It's the defense attorney is not any one attorney. They look out for the rights, due process rights of all the participants.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Oh, that's it, Frank. Thank you.
Okay, is there any more questions? Seeing none, I'll move, consider authorizing submission of fiscal year 2022 juvenile treatment court grant application, the estimated amount of $107,621.54. Is there support?
Support Swaney.
Okay, it's been moved and supported that we move this forward to the board meeting. Is more discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion has passed and we will move that forward. Okay, moving on. Number 6, here we go. Consider authorizing the submission of the fiscal year 2022 Swift Insure Sanction Program grant application in the estimated amount of $205,000. And Administrator Curtis, would you like to address this?
Sure. So again, this is our standard application. There has been some changes that may be coming through Swift Insure due to the new jail reform laws and that kind of thing, but we haven't received a lot of direction or any at this point. So we will continue to apply for funds to operate this program. We have a current award of $200,000. We applied for 203,000, so we are very fortunate to receive the amount we did. It's a little bit higher this year, so I'll let Carolyn talk to you about that. But otherwise, it's a really standard application that we do annually.
Good morning again, everyone. We have been in existence since 2011, and we were one of the first pilot programs and one of the first programs in the state. So we've been operating for quite a while. We are asking for 205,000 this year, and it is just to offset some of the drug testing costs that both parties have explained that have been off-site during COVID. There is an annual training that is actually tomorrow by Zoom, so I'll be participating in that. And just to kind of see what everyone else in the state is doing with all of the changes and things like that. So, I mean, I don't really know what else to say about the program. I think everyone pretty much knows about the program unless you have specific questions. I mean, we're kind of like the other two programs, been doing a lot of off-site drug testing, but now since we're open, we're going to move forward and doing more in-house. We've tested people in the parking lot as well. So I guess I would just open it for any questions you have of me.
Is there any questions? I know we've seen this a few times.
Yeah,
Steve,
I'm a little bit new to this, and I have to say that I don't remember if last year I got the details. Obviously, I wasn't in the criminal justice, and those things can be glossed over a little bit in the BOC meetings. So if you could explain a little bit more of the Swift and sanctions programs, like that, maybe what an applicant goes through. I'm curious.
Okay, it's a specialty court program for local probationers. Unlike drug court, we are not a treatment-based court. We are a sanctions-based court. We obviously work with people. If they have substance use issues, we want to get them resources and treatment for those things. We have a high amount of, I guess, substance use in our program. So we do a lot of drug testing like drug court, but we are compliance driven. So it's kind of like a moderately intensive form of probation. So people get into our program at the time of a pre-sentence investigation or a probation violation hearing. They're referred by the Department of Corrections. So they don't get a choice to go into our program. There's no plea agreement or anything with our program. If they meet the criteria, then they go into the program. So they have to be felons that are local and that are able to obtain resources in our county. I mean, we assist them like with barriers to employment. If they have transportation barriers, we assist them with bus passes, and they report once a week for the first 60 days of the program. And then after that, they report bi-weekly. So they have frequent monitoring and frequent testing as well. So they have an orientation hearing once they're accepted into the program. And that's about a 10 or 15 minute hearing in front of a judge to explain very briefly the program. And then we meet with them to go over all of the rules. But this is a grant funded program, obviously. And right now we have 25 people in our program.
Okay, thank you. It's nice to hear that helping with barriers for these people like employment and transportation. I'm sure a lot of those things contribute to repeated
Right, those are
probation
those are
violations.
some of the
Yeah.
goals.
Yeah, the name doesn't lend itself to a positive incentive-driven thought.
Right.
So personally, I think we should rename it. If you put into a program that says Swift Insure Sanctions Program, I'm sure that there's just more doom and gloom put over your head, and whether or not they know about the support you provide for their basic needs.
And honestly, that's what we see at the beginning. If they're sitting in jail and they hear about it, they usually hear all of the bad things about it. So when I speak to someone, I'll ask them, what do you know about Swift Insure? What have you heard? And then we try to say, please take this, look at it with an open mind. And if they're ready to make some changes, then this is a great program for them.
Yeah, I think in the past we may have been looking to make these programs for community safety, and so sanctions, slaps on the wrist were thought to be helpful, but I think we're seeing a lot more that we really need to support their basic needs for them to actually comply. And if we call it Swift Insure support, life support, maybe we can give a thought to that. Thank you very much for entertaining my questions, and it's great to hear that you're providing these basic needs for these people to comply and get back into their lives.
Yes, in order for them to be successful, that's a very important component. I mean, they have to, right.
Okay, is there any more questions? Seeing none, I'll entertain them.
Switch over to the agenda. All right, make a motion, move to bring forward the submission of the fiscal year 2022 Swift Insure Sanctions Program grant application in the estimated amount of $2,500 to the Board of Commissioners meeting on Tuesday.
And I will support that. It's been moved and supported. Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, we'll vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed the same. We will move this forward. It has passed. That kind of concludes your group, Administrator Curtis. You've developed a great team there. I know it's very important to the county to keep these programs funded. So good job. I know it's been difficult during the pandemic to keep these programs going. So anyways, good luck moving forward with that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe. Thank you.
Okay, moving forward with the prosecutor, we have item number 7. Consider approving the agreement between Carpel Computer Systems, Inc., doing business as Carpel Solutions in Isabella County for prosecutor by Carpel Software, and authorize the board chair to sign the same. We have on line right now, Prosecutor Barbary, you want to go into this?
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner Englert. So looking at our request, essentially when we came before the board on March 9th, we got unanimous approval to move forward with Carpel. We discussed multiple funding options as far as how the program was going to be funded and paid for. And obviously that's a very integral part of moving forward on this. At this point, we have not received the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribes 2% funding. They did not select our program as something that they were going to fund this year. Where we are at now, we're waiting a resolution on the federal government grant that we put in for. That has been since delayed, I believe, twice at this point. We have no timetable for when they're going to make a decision on that grant. And we are looking at reallocating out of our CARES Act grant that we received previously back in September, I believe it was, about 30,000 in that program to put towards this program. And we've also looked inside our own budget on line items and information or different budget surpluses we have that we didn't utilize the last year due to either COVID or some other reason, some expert witness fees and extradition fees, things of that nature. What we are looking for now is to at least move forward with signing the contract and making the initial payment of the $20,750, which is 50% of the software user license fee. The purpose for this would be to make sure that we're still on track for a November 21 rollout of the software. They've sent us contract, they've gone through it, they've given us the 120-day work order and a timeline for making sure that our go live date stays on track. And as we encroach on that go live date without a signed agreement, without having made a down payment, they're obviously, Carpel is concerned about our sincerity to move forward. So where we are at right now is we would like to go back before the board, have the contract agreement entered and make the down payment and move forward in that direction, continue to seek out additional funding and hopefully utilize some of the grant funding that we've already received to be put towards that program. And with obvious idea that anything that we're not able to cover on this year, we would potentially move to next year or find other funding sources to cover the remaining balance of the contract.
Yes, Margaret, you're also muted. Mark?
It keeps muting me automatically. I don't know what little mouse is inside my computer that keeps doing that. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I just want to say that my office has worked pretty extensively with the prosecutor and with his, I don't want to get Dorothy's wrong title. I'm going to say office manager, but I don't believe that's the accurate title, with Dorothy from his staff, Dorothy Marshall. The prosecutor and I have telephone met a couple times and in person once. And I know that Nicole of my team has worked with Dorothy. One thing I want to say is that I have forwarded the agreement to our attorney. It is being reviewed and we will have that back before the board meeting on Tuesday, hopefully by the end of the week, as a matter of fact. In looking at this, as the prosecutor said, we are kind of looking at all forms of funds available to us, of course, to try to keep as much of the cost out of the general fund. But in a worst case scenario, and there is some money right now in a previous grant that the prosecutor received that we have on pretty good authority, that a request to move some of that line item about would certainly be probably approved. So that's good news, but I believe that's about 30,000. So a worst case scenario as we move forward here is that, if the Board of Commissioners authorizes the signing of the contract, once we get it back from our attorneys and making the down payment, we have the money for the down payment. We believe that we have a reasonable expectation that the $30,000 request to move something in the line item from a previous grant will be approved. Well, then that's going to leave us at, about $53,000. That would be something that, as I said, in a worst case scenario, we could include in a request in the budget process that we are currently starting to prepare. Our budget year ends September 30th. New one starts October 1st. Obviously, 120 days from next Tuesday, if the board were to sign this, puts us in the next budget year. So just from administration and a financial aspect, I just wanted to bring that up and clarify that. And then I know Prosecutor Barbieri is certainly capable of answering any questions that you have, and if I can add anything, just let me know.
Yeah, I think we've talked about the advantages of the carpool software. And yeah, I wish we would have got the grant. It would have been nice to get it. But I don't think we can continue with the software we do have. My experience, whenever you delay something that you need, and it usually doesn't turn out well. So hopefully I can't see going backwards on this, even though we're not funded at the amount that we were hoping for. But yeah, it never turns out well when you have to start a project all over again, especially one that we've seen the advantages of. So you know, I don't like going through here, but I do support funding this and getting the initial agreement signed to move forward. So like I said, any deals I've done that's delayed always ends up costing a lot more money. So Commissioner Swain.
Yep, I agree with all of your statements there, and you know, this software is not just a desire, but you know, a necessity for and let me know if I'm overstating, Prosecutor Barber. It's a necessity for the department to move on. That the old software was built before all these times of online appearances and moving data and information to other departments like the sheriff's office and being available for to attorneys who are off-site.
It is.
We have to move forward and upgrade our systems. Yeah. So I'm in full support of upgrading, and you know, we'll find the money. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, the only thing I wanted to add, on review of the contract myself was an amendment that I asked them to make. They are drafting an additional piece of language. We saw it in a connection, or it's called an API, or basically an add-on to the program that allows it to communicate with our courts. And I have asked them, you know, they've indicated that if they can't deliver on that, that they would allow us some paths of rescission. But that specific language, in my opinion, was not clear enough so I've asked them to include that language. So that will be forthcoming as well at some point in the next couple of days.
So Dave, if you get that, would you please forward that to me so I can forward it to our civil attorney for the board?
Absolutely. And we'll get it to everybody so that the board has the full and complete contract prior to the meeting.
Thank you.
Chairman Hart, do you have any comments?
Margaret, just so I'm clear on this, then the monies that's paying for the down payment, that's found. And then the remainder of it is worst case scenario will be put in our 2022 budget. Is that a correct statement? Possibly put in our
Yes, the down payment is found. There's a reasonable expectation that $30,000 more will be allowable under a budget request of a line item request in a previous, I'm going to use the term CARES grant. I don't want to be wrong. But in a previous grant having to do with COVID, that would get us pretty darn close to 50% of where we need to be. And then we would find the rest of it. Mr. Barberi would put the rest of it in his budget request under, I don't know, probably capital improvement. And we would work that into the budget. Because it's, you know, I hate to use this analogy because I'm not a car person, but if you buy the car, you got to buy the tires. So it's you got to have tires. So it's kind of like if we're going to do 50% now, or at least the 20,000, we're going to have to find the rest of the money. And you know, we will continue our search between David and Dorothy and myself and Nicole. We're kind of turning over rocks, looking for other funding too. So we'll continue our search.
Prosecutor Barberi, question for you. Is this something then, I know you said you did a second up Chip Indian Tribe grant, 2%. 2% grant request. Is this something you intend to do in the future too, in the next 1 to 2 cycles to see if you can still obtain one?
Yeah, I think there's no harm in that. Certainly, as long as we're able to do that and get a response in a time prior to the remaining balance being owed, I see no issue in that. We're certainly exploring every option available to us on this.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things too. I think that just listening to my other 2 commissioners here, they're in support of your operation as far as becoming more up to date, becoming more user friendly, becoming better operations. And as you know, with 2% requests, we do rank those when we get them. So I think just hearing from Commissioner Engler and Commissioner Sweeney, I would encourage you to continue to certainly keep requesting the 2%. And that's all I've got, Chairman Engler. Thank you.
So Chairman Engler, just to clarify, the only 2%, I mean, the 2%, if we're going to request it again via the prosecutor, will be in the fall distribution, because by the time the spring distribution comes around, we would have already purchased it, spent the money, and they're not going to give us money going back.
Right.
So the opportunity
For the continue.
would be in the fall distribution, which occurs in November.
Okay. Is there any more questions?
This is a little off topic, but before Prosecutor Barber is off, I just wanted to thank him for his communications out to on media, social media, and other things that are going on in the community. That I think that communication is well received and very healthy for the county.
Commissioner,
Sorry,
did you receive
off
the
topic.
code? Did you receive the code red call last night, Commissioner, about the situation?
Yes.
Okay, great. I just wanted to make sure people had received that.
Yep, we received
Good,
it, and also
good.
other people who have commented. It's good.
Yeah, there's
Great.
a lot of misinformation out there right now, and we're planning to host a press conference today at 4:00. The subject in that investigation will be arraigned today at 3 p.m. I know we're out of order, so to speak, but I wanted to. I think there's some room for improvement on the communication side. We weren't in charge of that, but we wanted to make sure that everyone was apprehended that they could rest. So the easiest way for me to do that was social media, but it's been a very, very busy 48 hours, and we obviously thank the law enforcement officers, the efforts of Michigan State Police and everybody involved to apprehend the subject in this. And now we have to just move forward with the healing process for making sure that justice is served.
Okay, any more questions? Seeing none,
Frank, real quick.
yes.
Margaret, just to touch base, to echo, not to echo, but to Commissioner Sweeney, in regards to the code, not for commissioners, but for Margaret, in regards to the code red, that you say a call went out yesterday on code red?
It went out last evening. I'm going to say evening around 5:30 or 6, I guess, between 5 and 6, I believe. Back to what back to kind of as Prosecutor Barberry said, and I don't want to get into any specifics. I will just say that the prosecutor nor our sheriff's department, our sheriff's office, the sheriff's office was not the lead agency. So the information coming out, it wasn't something that was a decision by our sheriff's office, that we were not the lead agency on that case. But the code red call that went out, yes, a code red call went out yesterday, late in the day, between 5 and 6, I believe. Just telling people there was a situation, advising people to stay in their homes and keep their doors locked, and if they saw anything concerning to call 911. But that went out. If you didn't get that call, we need to make sure that you're registered.
No,
give that problem support.
when you said, I was just gonna state that, but I think you hit something, sometime just before I talked to you yesterday, I was having some issues with my cellular service. It kept saying whatever. And that was right around that time. So that's probably why I didn't get it. So I did see something come on emails in regards to, I think from the Michigan State Police or somebody's source on that. So yeah, normally I get both. I think it's email and also by phone. So that clears that question up. So sorry, Commissioner Angler, I took some time up. Once I heard the time, I said, I can explain that one. then."
I think
Okay.
I sent this one off the tracks.
Yeah, well, that's not the
Not a
first, and
problem.
Steve, I do that all the time. So there you go. You're not,
We're used
I
to
take
it.
it, I take it everywhere. So, okay, I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, any more questions? I will move that we consider approving the agreement between Carpal Computer Systems, Inc., doing business as Carpal Solutions in Isabella County, for prosecutor by Carpal Software, and authorize the board chair to sign the same and move that to the board session. Is there support?
I'll support that. Okay.
Okay,
I'll support that.
it's been moved and supported. Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, the motion has passed. We will move that forward to the work session. Thank you, Prosecutor Barbary.
I think I've got the next one as well, so.
Oh, okay. I'd seen Margaret was on there, but okay.
Oh, either, I'm sorry. I guess it's essentially, maybe I'm just here to answer questions on this one.
Okay. I will.
gonna turn it over to-
We'll figure it out. It's not that difficult. So we're not used to
We'll all speak.
long meetings
all
on
speak, I'm
criminal
sure.
justice. We'll move on to item number 8. Consider approving the fiscal year 2021 in the Michigan State Police in Isabella County Prosecuting Attorney's Office in the amount of $25,000 for federal pass-through coronavirus emergency supplementing funding, and authorize the board chair to sign the same. This is another coronavirus agreement, so I'm not sure who's going to take this. It's up for grabs.
I think we're going to do a tag team, so we'll start. Now,
Okay.
Nicole did prepare the staff report, so I'm going to pass the football to Nicole. I will tell you, however, I know that you've had a long agenda today, and this is one of those topics that, that it's good news. So Nicole, can you give a capsule discussion on your staff report?
Absolutely, Margaret. I'll catch the hot potato this morning. And
Thank
I don't want to confuse things with this
Yes.
Coronavirus Emergency Supplemental Funding Grant, or CESF grant. You saw 3 of these come through last year. One for sheriff, one for PA, and one for trial courts. And they were allocations, and they could be used for pretty much anything we could tie to coronavirus. This is new funding. I think it comes federally from the very same source, still passed through CESF dollars, passed through the Michigan State Police, but we're calling it the fiscal 21 CESF grant agreement. And these dollars are specifically earmarked for local county prosecuting attorney offices, and they're specifically for hiring a contracted employee or temporary employees. The PA's office would use this to help with the backlog of cases created during coronavirus and to help as they move to the in-person hearings and jury trials. So these allocations were determined by the federal, I think, Department of Justice, and based on county population. And so we are eligible for a $25,000 allocation through this funding stream. It was applied for earlier this year, and we just received notification of the award of the full $25,000. The grant period is June 1st of this year through December 31st of this year. And an amendment is not possible. I think at the time of the staff report, we talked about contacting the Michigan State Police to find out, can we amend this grant budget to pay for some of the costs of the software? And this one we cannot. However, this will pay for the contracted employees, allowing the prosecutor's office to amend his fiscal year 20 CESF grant agreement to pay for the software expenses. And that's what Administrator McAvoy and Prosecuting Attorney Barbary were talking about in the prior discussion. This will help to free up those fiscal year 20 dollars to be used towards the software. Obviously, it takes board approval and signature to accept the funds and keep this grant funding opportunity.
And again, these
On the-
these employees would be temporary employees, and at the end of the grant, their service would be finished.
Yeah, it seems like our county seems to be right on the wrong cusp all the time. I know for 2011, for our 6019, we're what, 69,000? And then I was looking at one of the coronavirus grants that coming down to smaller counties that says under 70,000. Well, we're not officially under 70,000 until the census are estimated to 69,800. So it's like, I'm sure they'll say, well, no, in 2010, you were 70,000, so you can't apply for that grant. So we need to get 100 people to either move in or move out.
Yeah, you
You're
don't
awful
feel so
close.
badly if you miss it by 5,000, but if you miss it by 200, it's a
Yeah,
little hard to take, isn't it? I know.
by the time the official comes in there, though, we'll be under it, but it'll be too late to apply for the grant. So
I got that quick
enough of
question,
that.
Chair-
Just,
oh,
yes,
Chairman,
Chairman
this
Hart.
question, maybe Margaret or Prosecutor Barber can answer this. These contract employees, I see if, let me get back up here to my, I got it on the screen here. Let's see, where did I read that? Fringe benefits are not eligible for reimbursement. Are there going to be fringe benefits, or B, are these persons considered to be 1099 employees?
They're not 1099, they're not independent contractors. They would be temporary employees, and they would only be eligible for what their funding source says they're eligible for. So they're not independent contractors, they're temporary employees.
Okay, so in other words, it's there was one of the grants I saw, maybe that was the earlier ones. So what happens to then the costs as far as the other costs involved as far as having, if there's going to be insurance, I don't know. B, what happens with the payroll taxes that the county's going to incur? How does that get passed along? Does that get added to, how does that pay for or reimburse, or is it?
So I think that we need to kind of separate out in the discussion required, you're going to call them fringe benefits, but required benefits. You know, we're required for employees to have workers' comp. We're required to have those types of things. These are temporary employees. We will not have health insurance for them.
Okay.
They won't have dental and medical insurance. They will have the basic requirements, which are Social Security, tax, workers' compensation, and then, unemployment.
Do we have that dollar amount listed anywhere? Can we obtain that dollar amount? Because that is a cost of this. I mean, it's a, obviously the grant is for $25,000, but what are the associated costs of the county for this? And I'm in support of this. I just want to see what our cost is, because there is a cost every time you do this. And if all the expenses such as payroll and everything aren't being absorbed, who's paying for that? I.e. that must be from the county's general budget. Is that correct or not correct?
Nicole?
Commissioner Engler?
Yes, the call. Oh, wait a minute,
Peter Barbary, I'd like to address.
breaking up.
Right.
Nicole wants to answer that first. I'm fine with that.
Yes, when I wrote the staff report, fringe benefits, just to clear this up, in my mind are exactly what Margaret's talking about. Payroll, maybe I should have put payroll expenses or payroll taxes, because it would just be the withholding and the workers' comp that we would pay through payroll. So those are not covered expenses under this, is my understanding, and the county's general fund budget would absorb that cost.
Okay, and what would be roughly that cost?
We'll do
It
that.
would not exceed 10% of
Okay. That's what I figured. I just wanted to,
Yeah.
I knew that, usually you go 1.1, 1.15 rounding up on a cost thing. So, okay. Like I said, I'm always, and this is not specific to this one, but you look at someone's wage, but there's also other costs involved in wages. And if we were throwing insurances and things like that, we went from a 1.0. In this case here, it's going to be 1.1, but if it was insurance, it could be 1.1, 1.3, 1.4, depending on it. So, and the rest of that, the 0.4s or the 0.1s are all absorbed by the county. So, okay, that's fine. Again, that clears up a lot of stuff for me. You don't have to put it in anything. I asked my question and I got it answered. So thank you.
Chairman,
Okay, is there,
Barry
yes.
had something to say.
sorry,
Mr. Barberry had something he wanted to say.
Yes, so I guess the one I want to be clear on, this is a somewhat, in many ways, a wishful thinking opportunity. The idea of having these funds available to potentially hire some support staff. The cold reality is right now, the job market is very interesting, to say the least. We've got an open position in our a year ago, we received 15 applicants for. We've now received 0 again in 2 to 3 weeks of having posted. So the idea behind this would be to potentially have support staff to assist in some of the clerical activities that have been a major influx, whether it's delivery of discovery, mailings and subpoenas, et cetera, things that have increased, been exacerbated by our returning to court and returning to handling jury trials and things of that nature. Obviously, those numbers are going to go up. We anticipate a backlog and trying to resolve the backlog through the end of the year. It's just a question of how that looks and how much help we can get in doing that. So we're asking for this money. In reality, it's unclear whether anyone is actually going to be able to utilize this program, if that makes any sense. And certainly we want to have it available, and we plan to post some of these opportunities. But I know that some of our neighboring counties and other receive these funds as well are having decent amount of difficulty finding people to come and fill those positions.
Chairman Engler, can I ask Prosecutor Barbary a question, if that's okay with you?
yes. go ahead.
Prosecutor Barbary, in regards to this, then, could you use these funds for the 13.5 for the temporary clerical and the 11.5 thousand for the assistant prosecutor position? Could those be used as, in light of adding another person, could those be used as, if you needed to hire someone, used as a, for lack of a better term, a bonus for them, or a sign-on bonus, or get creative in that way? Could those be used for that? Margaret, you're shaking your head, so yeah. So,
I think you gave her a migraine.
You did give me a migraine. I actually grabbed my head. I'm so sorry. Sometimes I forget I'm on camera. That was a little too dramatic. I apologize.
No. I'm always thinking, because if you need something to sweeten the pot, you've got 13.5 on one position, 11.5 on another. Could you use some of those to bring someone in, quote unquote, on a temporary situation, even though you could
I actually think that is possible, but I think there would need to be some. I guess the answer is maybe, and what I mean, typical attorney answer. But I think there is a way to have those funds utilized in such a way, but it would require some creativity and, frankly, some finesse from the board to figure out how that would be done on an ongoing concern.
So let me say this. This is a contract with the Michigan State Police via the United States Department of Justice, I believe. So the contract is kind of locked down. If we were hiring people in the general fund or another fund, and we had somebody who was in a regular full-time permanent position, and we had an applicant who had extraordinary services and background, education, training, experience they were going to bring, we have come to the commissioners occasionally and said, let's start them at someplace other than start, right? The contribution they're going to make to our organization. That's not a signing bonus. That's just putting them at a different step on the scale. But, you know, we can't today say, as the prosecutor said, we can't today say, yes, we can do that. If we want to do something and increase a wage or increase something in this contract, that would have to go back, ask for a change to the contract, get approved by Michigan State Police Emergency Management, maybe Department of Justice, and then have to come back to the board. I'm a little squeamish about things that aren't in the contract personally, because what we don't want to do is ever have a disallowed cost in a federal grant. Nobody wants that. That's just not good for anybody. So, you know, the answer to the question, Commissioner, would be, nope, I don't know that we can do that, kind of like what Mr. Barberry said. Maybe we can, but we certainly can't do it today.
I have a saying in the business
Contract we
world,
can't do.
and I have a saying in my former business world that, you know, I think you described the scenario. If you see the line, take 3 steps backwards. So in this regard, we're seeing that line and we're taking 3 steps backwards, which is a good idea. And if we don't, I just wanted to bring it up for discussion on it. That's all. So thank you.
Yeah.
To
and I
clarify,
guess to clarify where I was going with that, I think it would be very challenging to use it as a quote unquote bonus. But I think there are, I think there would be ways to use it as and I guess maybe I'm way out of base here, but in the event that there was some consideration to hiring someone, I think you could use this as a segue from temporary to permanent, if that made sense. But I don't think you could necessarily use it as a bonus, added salary to anybody on staff.
Now, if let's say, for instance, let's hybrid that situation, then again, this is just for discussion only. Could you hire someone in this temporary position? You probably couldn't offer them benefits. I guess you could offer. I don't know. Never mind. I'm going way off tangent. I don't want to go down that path this morning. So
But
Frank's going, my God,
I don't think you're
we're an
far
hour
off.
and 7 minutes. I've never gone this far. So there you go. Sorry, Steve. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But Commissioner Horton, I think you're not wrong in, you know, if the county can provide benefits so that we can actually see someone in this temporary position so that we can get through a backlog of court cases for these people so that they don't have to wait 18 months for a court hearing or 18 is just thrown into the air. It's not reality. But, you know, any way we can relieve some of this backlog for these people might be good to look into. And my understanding is this can't be used as a temporary, contracting an attorney.
Yeah, Chairman Horton, actually, I've been in this situation a lot of times.
Be a temporary employee.
First of all, it's always good to be in contact with the grant provider. Sometimes situations might come up where you need to, you know, use somebody on your own staff, or if the grant person that you hired actually quits on you and you still got the money on there. Keeping a good relation with the grant provider always helps. The other thing is, a lot of times in these grant positions, they'll be doing jobs that are kind of overlap. So it'll also allow the people in the staff to do their jobs a little more efficiently, better, quicker. So even though there's a small monetary thing, the efficiency will go back up because some of the medial jobs that other people are doing are done through this grant program. But it's kind of a crazy world, but the best thing is just the grant providers, keep in good contact, keep good relations with them. A lot of times they're usually pretty agreeable to reasonable terms on what are you doing with the grant money, as long as they're informed. So yeah, it's a good thing if all you're going to have into it is 10%. So if we can get the money, like I said, it's a long shot. Take it, and overall, I think it'll turn out to the benefit of the county, both and financially. So
Yes.
yes, Margaret. Or,
And I agree with you, Commissioner, very much. Also, just as for those who aren't aware, there are different categories of employment. So there's, full-time permanent, full-time temporary, there's part-time permanent, part-time temporary. There's all sorts of categories of employment. For temporary employees that you're looking at, I believe that this is something that is available through this year. So when you look at bringing a temporary person on, our temporary employees aren't eligible for those other health insurance things. And I like to think outside the box too, Commissioner Swaney. I often do think outside the box, but this box is provided to us by the Department of Justice. And, we have to follow their guidelines, the Michigan State Police Emergency Management, and our procedures. So it is nice that sometimes if you're a temporary person and you can come in and you can shine and you can do a great job, then you are going to be considered for full-time jobs that come along, right? Or permanent jobs that come along. But I don't see a way that we could do a cash incentive to a temporary part-time employee that's covered under this grant, or that we would want to set the precedent to offer health insurance under this, or dental or vision or other insurance, when we don't offer that to any other temporary people. So I think that's kind of we would need to be cautious. I would want us to be cautious, and I would advise us on that if that came up.
okay, any more questions? Seeing no more questions, I'll entertain a motion.
All right, so, right, if Administrator McAvoy and Prosecutor Barb don't see any changes to the application, I'll make a motion then.
Okay.
The discussion, so I
Okay.
just wanted to get confirmation that you are comfortable with application as is.
Yes, we are. As it is at this.
All right.
Yes, sir. I am at least.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll support that.
It was a long discussion.
It's a good discussion.
Needed to.
Right.
It's been moved and supported that we consider moving this forward to the work session, board meeting. Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, proceed to vote. All in favor signify by aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. The motion has passed. We will move this forward to the work session, so. Okay, we have one item left. And it seems like we've been getting a lot of these lately. Consider item number 9, consider approving the Patrick H. Horn and Marjorie A. Horn farmland agreement application, and instruct Isabella County Clerk to forward the approved application to the MDA Farmland and Open Space Program. So everybody got the application. If I can pull it up here. I really didn't see, seems to be all the boxes were filled. This one was a little bit different as far as I had to look at it twice because I couldn't quite figure out what was going on there, because it was sold on a land contract. So there was actually 2 deeds, and on the land contract, the title doesn't transfer until the done. So it was a little bit, that was a little different that we've seen in it, but everything seems to be in order. We've always approved these. So is there any more topic for discussion? Yes.
Got a question on the form. Again, given the area where this is at,
Okay.
I don't see it checked at all. I'm assuming that there's no turbines on this property. I didn't see anything listed there.
There is none on there, and there is a thing for oil leases or any other leases on there.
Okay.
That was checked, no, so I assume there isn't any.
All right.
When I saw this in the planning commission, they did have a GIS video, picture of the property. And it
Yeah.
didn't look like there was anything near it. And there was no
Yeah, there's a,
planning commission approving this and sending it for the planning commission gave its approval.
And I noticed usually these are this is normally
Small.
these are much larger areas too, isn't it, Frank? Or am I wrong? Or Steve, am I not?
Well, we've been seeing some partial separations in these,
Okay.
larger. But yeah, this is only what, 10 acre? I can't remember. It's
16.7 on the farm areas, acreage is 13.7, whatever. So, okay.
Well, we got a lot of-
5 acres, but less than 40.
Uh,
So,
We've been seeing also separation of the home from the land,
correct.
and
Yes.
has been coming down with a lot of these properties. So it was interesting to me to see that the home was included in it.
But
Yeah,
I don't
the
know if
residents in the tool shed.
Commissioner, you've been around farming quite a lot. I got a lot of really small fields that I hop from, and they drive me crazy because you kind of like to have the big fields, but there's still a lot of I rent from people that only have 20 acres or 25 acres, or some of them have 10 acres. So there's a lot of small parcels owned by different individuals that are not farming, but has it in farming, but still has it in 116 because of the advantages to it. So, yeah, so there still is a lot of small sections. And of course, with the creeks and the rivers that break it up, there are a lot of small parcels. So just kind of nature of the beast. So, okay, is there any more questions? Seeing that, I'll make a motion to move that forward to the work session.
Support Swaney.
Okay, it's been moved and supported that we move the Horde farmland agreement to the work session. Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor signify by aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. The motion has passed. We will move this forward. That completes our items. We'll have a call to the public. Is there anybody online?
There is no one at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Well, it's been a long meeting, so they've been waiting a long time if they're there. So we'll wait a few more seconds and then we'll proceed forward. Okay, I'll ask one more time. Is there anybody there?
There is not, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, is there any more business that needs to come before this?
no, sir.
Seeing none, I will call for the adjournment. Thank you.
Very good. 1 hour and 17 minutes.
Thank you.
Frank.
Well, I
Thank
must
you,
be
everyone.
taking lessons from you, Jim.
Yeah, it's good though. Now we asked some good questions and some good stuff. So this was a lot on the agenda. So
A lot on the
of-
agenda, so
Yeah.
a lot of important discussions that we're gonna have to talk about at the board meeting, so.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
all right. Well,
Yes.
we'll see
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
everyone.
Nice
Thank
day,
you, everyone.
Bye-bye.